Hello everybody and welcome to my December vlog for 2022. Now, normally I do a end of the year vlog where I talk about how the channel's gone for the year and I kind of wrap up everything and then talk about what's coming next, but I've decided to break it up into two parts. So that vlog will go up later in the month towards the end of the year. But this one is going to be about what's next. What's coming next this next year, and what really spurs this. I was going to do this anyways, but what really kind of gives me the energy to do this is that the Game Awards just happened tonight, and I got confirmation on a lot of stuff that I was already planning to do for the channel, some things that I didn't know were coming, and I just want to talk about what you guys can expect for 2023 on the channel, because there's a lot of really good stuff. First and foremost, I will say that Terraria stuff is going to continue. That's not going anywhere. I'm getting ready to start a new series because we're wrapping up the one that's currently going on. But outside of that, yeah, I don't have any plans to get rid of Terraria stuff, so that'll keep going. It's just all of the other stuff that is going on that is going to pad out the channel, and for a time may happen in light of the Terraria stuff. So basically I may finish, let's say I do this next mod for Terraria and I'm playing and then I finish it. We may take a couple weeks off from Terraria and go and focus on some of these other games, of which you guys are going to be really excited about. So let's kind of dive in and talk about what's coming in 2023 and what you guys can expect on the channel. So first and foremost, I am so excited about this. I literally screamed when I was watching the Game Awards and it got announced, because I never had any expectations of ever coming back to this world, just because the developers have started new worlds each time they've made a new game, and I'm talking about Hades 2. I am so excited for this. If you've been on the channel for more than a couple years, you know that when Hades went into early access back at the Game Awards like 3 years ago, I immediately jumped in on it and played all the way through. Every single time a new update was coming out, I was jumping in and doing more stuff, and even in between updates I was just doing runs and runs and runs, and I was playing the hell out of that game, pun intended. In fact, if you want to know the stats on this, it is the longest running series by episodes on the channel of all time. And I've been doing this for 11 years. It has 213 videos on Hades. And then that's not even, to think about it this way, 213 videos, you're like, that's a lot. That is a total duration of 116 hours of content of just Hades on the channel. I went ham on that game, and it remains one of my favorite games of all time. The ending really got me at an interesting point in my life where I had just had a baby. And, well, my wife had the baby, so let me not misspeak there. And the end of that game just really got me. I was like hyper emotional with it, but it was just so freaking good. And Hades 2 is going to be great as well. Supergiant remains one of my favorite developers of all time, so expect a lot of Hades 2 content on the channel, probably starting, I would say, early 2023. They haven't announced their early access plan yet, but as soon as it's up, I'm going to be jumping in and doing a bunch of content on that. Another world that we're going to be returning to is the world of Star Wars, because Star Wars Jedi Survivor is coming out on March 17th, and I was already planning on playing that game. I did Jedi Fallen Order recently this year on the channel, so if you're interested in going and watching that, it is one of my favorite series that I've done. It's like Deathloop and Jedi Fallen Order have been two of my favorite recent series that I've done on the channel. Both of them are fantastic, and I think both series show just how much I've learned doing this for 11 years. And man, I really love freaking Fallen Order. It's such a good game, and Survivor looks incredible. I cannot wait for this. It's great. Again, if you're into Star Wars, you're probably going to enjoy this series, and if you're not, you're either going to enjoy it because it is like a Souls-like experience where the game is going to be tough, and I'm probably going to be playing it on the hardest difficulty after doing Fallen Order. But at the same time, it's just a really cool experience seeing a experienced developer make a really rad game, and this is definitely no exception. And then on June 6th, Diablo IV releases. Now, you guys, if you've been on the channel for more than a hot minute, you know that I was always going to do this game. First and foremost, because I am a huge Diablo player. I love Diablo. Secondly, I'm a Diablo partner, so I'm going to be covering the game. It's part of what I do. And I also currently run Diablo Fans, which is a huge fan site for Diablo. So that's a whole other thing. So like Diablo is a big part of my life, and Diablo 4 is my most anticipated game of this decade. It was always my most anticipated game of this decade, and it's always going to be. Like, this game is what Diablo 2 was to me. I have played Diablo 4. I've mentioned that I've played it at when it was first announced at BlizzCon, and I think the game is freaking fantastic. I have a lot to say about this game from just everything going on right now with recent experience and the what's going on in the news, but that's a whole other video. That's literally a whole other video, and I may not get to that video this year. I may hit it at the beginning of the year, but I'm going to be doing a lot of Diablo 4 stuff. You'll probably see a lot of guide stuff popping up on the channel for it, which is going to be great for people jumping in new and fresh to the game who don't really know much about it. But I'm also going to be covering all the news for it and just all that general stuff. In fact, when the game launches, we'll likely be doing a very long live stream of it. So that's kind of the plan currently. It launches on June 6th, 2023. So 6/6. 2023 or 6/6/23, which if you combine 2 times 3, it's 6. So it comes out on 6/6/6. I thought that was kind of clever, but at the same time, like I said, there's some news of pretty heavy crunch that was happening to get the game out on that time, and it just doesn't really seem worth it to get that kind of funny joke in. I don't know, but look, Diablo 4 is freaking incredible. Is going to be one of my top played games this decade. Another game that I'm going to be jumping into and playing a lot on the channel, not necessarily because I'm going to be like having a lot of time that I'm devoting to the game, like Diablo 4 or Hades, for instance, but just because it's a long game. It's going to be a big game, which is Baldur's Gate 3. I've actually done quite a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 on the channel and played through essentially the early access from this last year, but I decided to pause. I put the brakes on because I was like, this is incredible. This is such a fun game. The people who watched that series really got into it because of just the dynamics of how that game works and what I can do commentary wise to make that entertaining is a lot of fun. But that's not coming out till August. And once it does come out, it's going to be one of those games where it's like hour-long episodes, just back to back. Huge episodes of that game and of probably a long series. I wouldn't anticipate that series wraps up before the end of 2023. So yeah, but if you want to go see stuff on Baldur's Gate 3, at least, I would say not necessarily updated to what the game is right now. You can go check that whole series out. I've done some update videos on it since, so you could go check out like the Bard, for instance. But overall, I'm really looking forward to that game as well. And we got 2 major games to talk about to kind of wrap this up. I will touch on some Dragon Age and some Mass Effect potential stuff there, but for the most part, these last 2 games that I'm going to talk about are like the last 2 that I know for sure I'm going to be doing stuff on. The first is the Cyberpunk 2077 expansion. I liked Cyberpunk quite a lot. The game has gotten a lot better since I wrapped up that series, and I've gone back to it and played it quite a bit since. And I really like that game. It is fun. And if you haven't gone back to Cyberpunk since the launch of the game, you really should. It is really good. And I think the updates have helped it a lot, especially the one that tied into the Netflix show. I thought that was pretty good. But the Phantom Liberty expansion is going to feature Idris Elba, and it just looks cool. So I'm going to jump in and do that expansion and see how that goes. If it's anything like the Witcher expansions, it's going to be pretty decent. It's going to be thick. There's gonna be a lot of information and a lot of data to comb through on those, and then just a lot of gameplay as well. Now, one other thing about this, they already have a second game lined up. They're planning on doing a second game that's probably coming out near the end of this decade. I'm not gonna lie, like it's a ways off. We still got like another Witcher game they're working on, and then some new IP. And look, the CD Projekt Red team is busy, but this expansion looks cool. The trailer looked good, and I'm in. Let's jump in and go for like a week in Cyberpunk and do some huge episodes and have some fun with it. But finally, the final game I want to talk about that I will likely be doing, I'm not going to guarantee it. We'll see, because it's really going to depend on your guys' reception to this. But the game that I'm likely going to do on the channel is The Last of Us Part 1, which is coming to PC, I think in March. Now, I'm kind of like, I've played Last of Us 2, and both games, that is. And I think the story and everything is freaking fantastic. One of the best narrative experiences in video games, period. The show is coming out in January, which is going to cover, from what we could tell, it's going to cover the first game and its DLC. So that's quite a lot of stuff to throw into a HBO series, but they're going to do it. But when you consider like the gameplay stuff, you take all the gameplay out of that story, I would say, yeah, it's about a season's worth of story there. So that seems about right. But if you guys are interested in seeing me play through The Last of Us Part 1 on PC on the channel, then I will absolutely do it, because I want that kind of that like encrusted into the channel in some way, which means that when The Last of Us Part 2 eventually hits PC, because it will at this point, like it's pretty much confirmed that if Part 1 is going to hit, then eventually Part 2 is going to come out at one point, then I will do that as well. And then if they ever come out with a third game, which we know they likely will, then we'll also hit that up as well. So like it's kind of like Mass Effect, right? I've done all 3 Mass Effect games. In fact, I've done Mass Effect 3 twice on the channel. That's a long story if you don't know. But when Mass Effect 3 first came out, I did it. And then when the Legendary Edition came out, I just wrapped that up this year. So technically I've done Mass Effect 3 twice. But that's a good example. Dragon Age is a good example of games that when the next Dragon Age comes out, I've done the previous ones on the channel, so I'm going to do the next one. It's a guarantee. And same thing with The Last of Us. If I do Last of Us Part 1, we will also do Part 2 when it comes out, and then eventually whatever games follow up with that. But it's a game that I hold really close to my chest of this is an excellent experience. I think everybody should experience it, whether you watch it or play it. Obviously playing it is going to be better, but man, the story in that game is fantastic. So yeah, if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I may just leave that experience to myself. And now there's a handful of games that are unknown, that we don't know if they're coming out in 2023 or when they're coming out in 2023, and we haven't really heard anything much about them in regards to that. Like Dragon Age Dreadwolf is a good example of that. Didn't see it at all at the Game Awards. There's been no EA Play this year, so we've not seen anything. And then Dragon Age Day didn't give us really much of anything. It gave us a little cinematic, and that was about it. But I'm really excited for that game. I hope it's so good, because where Inquisition left the story after playing through the Trespasser DLC, again, I did all this on the channel. If you want to see the full length of Dragon Age, you can watch it on the channel. The Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 is a bit older, but once we got into Inquisition, it was a little bit better. And then, I think Dreadwolf is going to be a really nice pinnacle for the series. Hopefully, based on everything we've seen, it looks like it's going to be pretty good. So I'm really looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that this year. And then when news does come out, when big enough news to talk about does come out, I'll be doing a video on that, because I've got a lot of Dragon Age fans here on the channel, people who stuck around and watched all the way through all those episodes and now are looking forward to the next game and watching me play through that. So totally going to be a thing that happens. Whether or not, it's coming out in 2023, we don't know. Everything could get delayed. You never know globally what'll happen anymore. But the thing that I'm going to touch on with the kind of the end of the year vlog, like our Christmas vlog, where I talk about everything that happened this year and reflect on it and like what I'm going to do better next year. The thing is, this year was really good to the channel. It grew so much, and I'm very thankful for that. And that means that it gives me the passion to go into 2023, especially with this huge lineup of freaking amazing games, really excited and wanting to get into this stuff. I cannot express how just like buzzing I am with excitement for Jedi Survivor. I've really dove into Star Wars this year. Before I played Fallen Order, I hadn't watched the Clone Wars or any of the animated series. And after I started Fallen Order, I was like, you know what? I should probably go do that. And I did, and I binge watched that entire series and everything else. I'm totally caught up. There's not a single Star Wars TV thing or movie thing that I have not seen at this point. Like, I've binge watched all of Clone Wars and Bad Batch and Rebels, and it's just I'm in a situation where like I've recently just rewatched Mandalorian season 1 and 2, and now Boba Fett, and I'm really looking forward to all the stuff coming out this year, like Bad Batch season 2 and whatnot. And I'm just in. Like, I'm so in. I've always been a huge Star Wars fan, but now I'm like on a different level. And Survivor has got me really excited. But the point is, this year has been really great for the channel. This next year, it's got a lot going for it, and there's no reason to think that it's not just going to keep growing and continuing it the way it is. And I want to thank everybody who joined this year. There was a lot of new people who joined this year and stuck around and are enjoying my content. So if you're one of those people, I hope that I've given you something to be excited about for this next year of stuff that's going to happen on the channel. If I didn't mention a game that you're in particular really excited about, definitely let me know and I'll look into it. It's possible that whatever you're really excited about, I'm also excited about. I just don't know if you guys are excited about it. So I'm not planning on doing it on the channel. But if there's enough of you excited about a particular game, then and I'm also excited about it, then I'll jump in. You know, I heard, I'll leave it with this. Because I think this is very relevant. I heard some piece of advice this past year that it has stuck with me, and it has continued to stick with me, and it hasn't gotten out of my head, and I keep thinking about it. It's like an earworm. It's just there now. It's living in my head. And it was from Quince from Shut Up and Sit Down. He was talking to Rodney Smith, which is another board game person on YouTube. If you don't know who either of those people are, it's okay. You don't really need to know. All you need to know is that they make board game videos. And they've been at it for quite a while. And they were talking about like what is it that keeps them going? And as a business owner myself, that's why this has stuck with me. It resonates really well, which is that people often talk about how as a person who's running a business or making any kind of adventure or content or anything, you have to consider two factors. And the two factors are time and money. Everybody talks about time and money, but what they always forget to talk about is passion, which is the third resource you need for doing your own venture. Time and money are solvable things. You can get more time and you could get more money, but you can't get more passion. If you run out of passion, that's a big bad thing that's going to happen. Eventually, that thing that you're doing is going to die. I've been doing this for 11 years. I've not run out of passion. And I'm just like really, it's a weird thing to look back 11 years ago, like who I was as a person compared to who I am now. It's way different. The channel is a bit different. The content I'm doing is a little different. it's largely the same, just better. And that's probably a good thing. But the fact is, I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it. And this next year, I've got a lot of passion. I'm really excited for this next year. It's going to be one of my favorite years in gaming. And this year, didn't have a lot, going to be honest. I didn't do a whole lot of gaming this year. I've been really busy. And there just wasn't a whole lot that I was excited about. But this next year is completely different. It's like a night and day difference for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this year. We'll talk more about that and reflect on this year at the end of the year. But for the most part, I'm hoping that there's something in this video that gets you excited about next year on the channel, and next year for what you're going to see me participating in as far as games and content. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching, and we shall see you all next time.